Leo found two elderly ladies, Lily and Alice, who were looking for a third roommate. "We're gonna have a swinging pad," Leo told Julian, winking. Chapter 6. The Cabin of Calamity. The grand finale of the season arrived when Julian's friend, Link, offered them his boss's mountain cabin for the weekend. "It's a chalet," Link promised. "Gourmet kitchen, stone fireplace, total privacy." Julian, exhausted from school, dreamed of 48 hours of uninterrupted sleep. But the chalet turned out to be a shack with a roof that sagged like an old hammock. The privacy was also a lie. Not only did Jade and Cricket show up, their ride to San Francisco had bailed, but Loretta Lush appeared, followed by a local actress named Laura, and eventually, a very lost Barnaby Bumblewick looking for wild strawberries. "I want my snuggle bunny," Loretta shouted, chasing Julian around a pine tree. "I want to be in a commercial," Laura screamed, thinking Julian was a famous director. Another one of Link's lies. Julian tried to sleep in a hammock, but was attacked by mountain gnats. He tried to sleep in the shack, but ended up with Jade's elbow in his ribs. Finally, driven to the brink of madness, he wrapped himself in a blanket of large, shiny green leaves he found by the stream. "Nature's sleeping bag," he muttered, drifting off. He woke up 12 hours later, in the back of Barnaby's station wagon, itching with the fire of 1,000 suns. "Julian, those weren't sleeping bag leaves," Jade said, trying not to laugh as she applied calamine lotion to his face. Julian looked at his roommates. Cricket was wearing a snakeskin-proof outfit made of bubble wrap. Jade was covered in pine needles. Barnaby was eating blueberries he still insisted were strawberries. "You know," Julian said, scratching his nose with a wooden spoon, "I think I'm ready to go back to Veridia Coast." "Me too," Cricket said. "The mountains are too loud." "And Julian?" Jade smiled. "Yeah, you're still cooking dinner tonight." Julian sighed, leaned back against the seat, and began to plan his next soufflé. It would be light, airy, and most importantly, completely free of poison oak. The end. The Emerald Harbor Chronicles. A symphony of misunderstandings. Prologue. The oasis at number 7. Emerald Harbor was the kind of town where the sun always seemed to shine a little too brightly, and the residents always seemed to be one step away from a farcical disaster. Nestled between the sapphire waves of the Pacific and the rugged cliffs of the Sierra Madre, the city was home to the Oasis Apartments, a stucco-covered relic of the late 70s that held more secrets than a government vault. At the heart of the Oasis was apartment 2C, shared by an unlikely trio. Julian Jules Vance, a culinary student who could flambe a steak but couldn't walk across a flat rug without tripping. Jade Hawthorne, who ran the Petal Pusher flower shop and served as the apartment's unofficial warden. And Clover Sterling, a woman whose brain was made of candy, floss, and sunshine. To the outside world, and specifically to their landlord, the peacock feather-wearing Barnaby Bumble, they were a respectable group. But inside 2C, life was a constant battle against gravity, logic, and the sheer probability of being caught in a compromising position. Chapter 1. The Curtain of Controversy. The morning began with a knock, or rather, a lack of one. Barnaby Bumble, dressed in a leisure suit that looked like it had been salvaged from a disco-themed shipwreck, stood outside 2C. He was a man who lived for gossip and the thrill of a lease violation. Inside, Jules was currently engaged in what Jade called general maintenance, which in Jules's case meant holding a hammer and looking confused. "Jules, while you're here, could you help Clover with the shower curtain?" Jade asked, pulling a tray of damp laundry out of the oven. Jules blinked. "The oven?" "Jade, when did you start baking cotton?" "I haven't," Jade replied, tossing a pair of steaming socks onto the counter. "The dryer's broken again. Just go help Clover. I don't want her falling in the tub." Jules wandered into the bathroom, where Clover was struggling with a massive sheet of vinyl. "Hi, Jules. I think I need a man's touch. This thing is very stubborn." "Don't worry, Clover," Jules said, stepping onto the edge of the porcelain tub. "I'll get in with you, and we'll get it on. The rod, I mean." From the hallway, Barnaby Bumble's ears twitched. He leaned his head against the door. "If you ask me, I'll show you what to do. Clover's voice echoed through the wood. Girls are just better at this than boys. Come on, Clover, Jules grunted. A little less talk and a little more action. You do your part, and I'll do mine. I don't think it'll reach, Clover squealed. Of course not, Jules replied. You've got to unfold it first. Barnaby Bumble gasped, his eyes widening to the size of dinner plates. He burst into the apartment, nearly taking the door off its hinges. Aha! I knew it! A Roman orgy in Emerald Harbor. Not on my watch. He stormed into the bathroom, only to find Jules tangled in a floral print curtain and Clover holding a roll of masking tape. Mr. Bumble? Clover asked, tilting her head. What are you doing? Never mind what I'm doing, Barnaby shouted, pointing a shaky finger at Jules. I heard it! Rub-a-dub-dub, come hop in my tub. I heard the whole sordid affair. Jules untangled his head from the vinyl. It's a shower curtain, Barnaby. We were hanging a curtain. Barnaby looked at the tub, then at Jules's fully clothed form. How'd you get your clothes on so fast? I never took them off, Jules yelled. Barnaby squinted. Innocence. I know that look. It's the look of people who are very good at getting dressed in under 4 seconds. I'm watching you, Vance. One more splash, and you're out. Chapter 2. The brain scan bureaucracy. The incident with the curtain was forgotten an hour later when a loud THUD echoed from the bathroom. Clover had slipped, her boots, which she insisted on wearing everywhere, finding no purchase on the wet porcelain. 5, Clover said, staring blankly at Jules's hand. Clover, I'm only holding up 2 fingers, Jules said, his voice laced with panic. 2 in a V and 3 folded down, Clover corrected with a dizzy smile. That's 5, Jade groaned. That's it. We're going to the hospital. The Emerald Harbor Memorial Hospital was a maze of white corridors and overworked staff. Clover sat on an exam table, looking delighted to be the center of attention. A nurse with a clipboard approached. Name? Christmas Snow. Clover chirped. The nurse paused. Is that a stage name? No. It's my real name. My dad is a reverend. Reverend Luther Sterling. But he named me Christmas because he said I was the best present he ever got. The nurse scribbled furiously. So, you are Father Christmas's daughter? No, Clover giggled. Snow is my dad's name. But he's not Christmas. He's Luther. My mother said it's a good thing I was. The nurse stared at Clover for a long time, then turned to Jules. Actually, Jules whispered, she's always like this. While the doctors performed tests, the atmosphere in the waiting room grew heavy. A tall, somber doctor named Dr. Sterling, no relation, approached Jade and Jules. The symptoms could be an inner ear disturbance, Dr. Sterling said. Or it could be a cranial hemorrhage, a clot. Jade's face went pale. How bad? The worst? The doctor said gravely. For the next 12 hours, the apartment was a tomb of grief. Jules tried to lighten the mood with warm milk, while Jade wept over the memory of the time the telephone man came to install their push-button phone. He asked if she wanted an extension. Jade sobbed. And Clover said, no thank you, we'll pay for it now. And the cord, Jules added, a tear rolling down his cheek. He asked if she wanted a 10-foot cord, and she said 2 feet was enough because it only had to reach her ear. Suddenly, the door flew open. Clover walked in, glowing with health and carrying a bag of hospital cafeteria muffins. I'm fine, she shouted. The doctor said I'm perfectly normal. Well, he said I was normal for me, which he said was a medical miracle. Clover! Jules and Jade tackled her in a hug. But the doctor said you could go at any time, Jules cried. Yeah, Clover said, munching on a muffin. He meant go home. He said I was taking up a bed and scaring the other patients with my stories about how arms are just long handles for hands. Chapter 3. The Art of the Bark. Jules decided that his life lacked authority. He was tired of being pushed around by Barnaby Bumble and his culinary instructors. Following Jade's advice, he signed up for an assertiveness training seminar led by a man named Dr. Barkington. Be somebody, act like somebody, react like somebody. Dr. Barkington roared at Jules. Now, stand up. Jules stood up. Sit down, Jules